It's lighter, it's faster, it's smaller, just like me. Yeah, the rumors were true. Nikon just announced the updated version of the 70-200 2.8 VRS lens, which I own, and yes, the first thing that Nikon wants you to know is that it's lighter, faster, more precise. Now let's look at some of those improvements. Hi, Ray here with my thoughts on the new NIKKOR Z 70-200 f2.8 VRS 2. First, how much lighter than this original version, which is hefty? Well, it weighs in at 2.2 pounds, 998 grams, without the foot and hollow, because these can be entirely removed. More on that later. My original version weighs 3 pounds, 1.36 kilos without the foot. And incidentally, I've demonstrated how to secure this foot, or the bracket that secures it, so it doesn't fall off. So this innovation is welcomed. But that's a significant amount of weight savings, with or without the foot. 26% lighter than its predecessor, something the lighter version of me would definitely appreciate. The weight reduction is down to thinner lens elements and a reduction in the total number of elements in the optical design. 18 elements in 16 groups compared to 21 elements in 18 groups in this original. The optical design includes fluorite, SR, ED, Super ED, and multiple large diameter, double-sided aspherical elements. Nikon says that results in sharp, faithful detail, accurate color, and exceptional correction of aberrations across the frame, even at wide aperture settings. Coatings include Nikon's proprietary mesomorphous and orneo coatings. Now, I demonstrated with this version 1 just how amazing its coatings performed compared to the Nikon F-mount. So the addition of mesomorphous should make it even better, if that's possible. It's 12mm shorter, 208mm versus this 220mm, and good things come in small packages, so they say. It's faster, at focusing that is, 3.5 times faster and 17.5 times more precise, 40% better focus tracking while zooming. These are extraordinary improvements if they prove to be reproducible outside the lab. So we have a reduction in glass to move around. Unlike the version 2 of the 24-70 2.8 released a few months ago, in Nikon's top-of-the-line sports and wildlife lenses, the use of Silky Swift voice color motor rather than the STM stepping motor. This is good to see and hear, because voice color motors are much quieter, essentially silent. Videographers can rejoice. And while we're talking video, focus breathing, which was already minimal, has been adapted along with the new optical design. And a new high-precision optical encoder, and this lens, I think it's safe to say, is a class-leading example of this very useful zoom range. I can attest while any Z lens is better than the old F-mounts in regard to noise, the stepping motors still produce more noise than I'd like. My 50mm f1.8, for instance, let us just say audio recorded in camera, even with an on-camera external mic, is pretty much unusable. Luckily, I always record externally, while the audio recorded in camera is just used as a sync track, or into the camera from a separated mic like this lavalier. So yeah, big improvement right there. The minimum focus distance, which I demonstrated in my review of its predecessor as an impressive achievement, half a meter or 19.7 inches at 70 millimeters has been brought down to 0.38 meters, 15 inches. At 200 millimeters we get 0.8 meters, 31 inches, 8 inches closer than this old version. So how old is this? Just 6 years. So it's amazing that Nikon is renewing these lenses. Not that different a period than the last F-mount iterations though, and I'll get back to that subject later. But we have up to 6 stops of vibration reduction, a half stop improvement, and that's assuming you have a camera with IBIS to add to the lens's VR. Depending on your viewpoint, we've lost the illuminated info display that shows aperture, focal length, focus distance, and depth of field. That feature of some earlier Z-mount lenses, including one of my favorites, the MC 105mm f2.8, seems to have been retired across the board. Here, it's left room for an extra custom control button. The customizable control ring can be clicked or switched to clickless. Have a hard time saying that. And that's to adjust aperture exposure or ISO sensitivity. Auto manual focus switch remains in its usual location. A range limiter also there as well, from 5 meters to infinity. Now the lens hood gets a window so you can rotate variable ND or polarizing filters without removing the lens hood. Man, I wonder if you can buy that separately. I mentioned in a video recently what a pain that was, not being able to leave the hood on at the same time as using variable NDs and polarizers. Particularly bothersome if using step-up rings, and I had a viewer comment on that as well. So, great addition. As I say, the lens foot and collar is completely removable, and it looks like there's a separate sort of cover. Now, here's a big change that third-party manufacturers aren't going to welcome. That removable lens foot is now Auto-Swiss compatible. Finally, thanks to Nikon, I'd be able to ditch my adapter plate, saving another 50 grams or so. Aperture blades have gone from 9 to 11, which should result in smoother bokeh, rounder bokeh balls anyway, and that'll be appreciated since that's not this version's greatest strength. I have another video, check it out here, comparing the Z400mm f4.5 to this 70-200 2.8 with the 2x teleconverter. Ignoring the loss of light, the 70-200 becomes a 140-400mm 5.6 zoom, and the same for the version 2, while the 1.4x TC we get a 100-280 f4, no change to minimum focus. The 400 4.5 costs $3,499.95 US, 2x TC $649.95 US, the 1.4x TC $589.95 US. So, today, with these optical improvements and the versatility of the zoom, if my use case was up to 400mm, the 70-200, or the new one anyway, with the 2x TC, I don't think I'd be worrying about optical compromise. Now, perhaps the most important change, the price. Wait for it. You can still buy this original for $2,899.95 US. Version 2 is $3,199.95. Now for us in Canada, that's $3,499 versus $4,199. Is it worth the premium? Well, obviously, and predictably, if you live in Canada, it's a bit different calculation, more than twice the difference, 300 versus 700. Wow. So yeah, that would that's something to think about. 2.5 times the difference. Is that enough to cause me to ask for asylum? But it does call for a realistic assessment in terms of your needs. Certainly there's some major improvements here. If they make a meaningful difference to your work, to me though, I really appreciate the weight savings these days. The most significant improvement comes in terms of that focus acquisition and tracking. Again, 3.5 times faster, 17.5 times more precise, 40% better focus tracking while zooming. Surely that's going to improve your sleeper rate, and that's what counts, right? As I mentioned earlier, I had the AFS 70-200mm 2.8 GED VR2 that was released in 2008, followed by the 70-200 2.8 FLED VR in 2016. So a bit longer interval, but kind of similar improvements. I compared my 2008 model with the first Z mount, to the consternation of people who thought I should have compared to the FLED VR, and that still stands as the best performing video on this channel. Now that might change after this release. No immediate plans to update that with a comparison of this with the version 2, but don't count it out. So tell me, do you plan on buying this version 2, or perhaps version 1? Maybe you have one of the F-mounts or would buy one of those. Let me know in the comments what you think. So that's my brief view of the Z 70-200 2.8 VRS 2. Now I have to get back to another video that I'm in the middle of editing. Please excuse the mess around here. That's hopefully coming by the weekend. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you just found my channel, please do consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss new content. In the meantime, take care, cheers. We'll see you later.